everyone, my name's Aaron Fewer. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Panorama Education. We're a team of about 105 folks based in Boston, serving district-wide about 450 school districts across the United States. New York City, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Tulsa, a great group of all shapes and sizes, about 6 million kids altogether right now. And so to start us off on the Panorama journey, I wanted to start off with one of our students here in the Chicagoland area. As you think about a student anywhere in the US, there are basically three things every school in the US tracks and manages about how a student is growing and developing. We look at a child's test scores across ELA and math. We look at attendance, and we look at discipline and behavior. We manage this, we improve it, we track it, we have dashboards around it. And the problem is if you talk to any teacher, any principal, any parent, there's a much broader, this is a little tiny sliver about what matters for a child. There's a much broader picture that we care about. We want to know, how is the child developing emotionally? Does a student think they belong at school? Do they feel safe? Are their parents involved? Are they building self-worth and persistence? I think this past few days we've been talking about what our children need to succeed in the modern world. And it's much more the second half of this list and not the first half of the list. And so Panorama's focus is helping school systems organize and orient themselves around this entire picture, both academics, attendance, and behavior, and also social emotional skills, development, critical thinking, family engagement, this entire picture of a child. And so Panorama today concretely has three different pieces, and I'll take you through what it looks like in our districts. The first piece is helping schools run really rigorous student, parent, and teacher surveys to understand school climate and culture, to understand family engagement, and to understand student voice. Second part of our work is measuring and assessing social emotional skills in students with the same rigor we would otherwise test English and math. And the third piece is taking the Panorama school data and student data alongside attendance, behavior, grades, assessments. For the first time, teachers and principals can see a complete picture, kind of a 360 view of every child's growth and development. So I figured I would share for a moment what Panorama looks like in our districts. So the first part of each of our Panorama districts is administering a student survey, a parent survey, and a teacher survey. And what's important is that we've worked with researchers at Harvard and UC Santa Barbara to figure out, it's not like a satisfaction survey, but what are really important factors of school performance that everybody agrees are important, but we don't have the data on today. So for students, it's, do students feel safe at school? Are they engaged? Are expectations high? Do students and teachers have relationships? In many of our districts, fewer than half of kids have an adult relationship. Hard to learn in that environment. For parents, it's are parents happy with school, but it's also more in-depth, like are parents reading to their children at night? Do parents feel self-confidence to get involved in school? One of the important learnings we found is that one of the most common barriers to parents being involved is them not feeling their own self-confidence. If you don't understand your kid's math, you might feel embarrassed to come to a back-to-school night. It's just as often the self-confidence for parents as it is logistical barriers. We work in 45 languages across the US domestically. We want to make sure that every student, parent, and teacher participates. 2% of parents in Long Beach are Cambodian immigrants who only speak Khmer, and they engage with Panorama in Khmer in their home language. And then we administer and measure social emotional learning skills around self-management, grit, social awareness, growth mindset. We want to understand how is each child developing along these axes alongside academics. Really hard for a child to succeed in math if they lack the growth mindset, don't think they can get smarter. And in many of our districts, even by third and fourth grade, half of students don't have a growth mindset view. We have to change that. And so we collect all this data, we integrate with existing SISs, attendance, behavior, grade books. At the school level, every principal, every district leader gets a picture about how our students are doing on these fundamentals of learning. Here's one of our schools that discovered 2/3 of students think they belong at school, but 1/3 of students don't think they belong at school. We know that hinders learning. That was an important finding. We look at subgroups. This is one of our schools in Los Angeles, trying to figure out why are African American students really struggling in school versus other students. What emerged is that African American students don't have a lower experience overall. It's African American students don't think they belong at school as much, don't think the rules are fair, and aren't developing self-management skills in school at the same rate their peers are. It explains a lot of the achievement gaps we see in the academic data. In San Francisco, a big question was, how are our homeless kids doing? And so Panorama looks at all students, discovered for homeless students, it was self-efficacy and self-confidence where homeless students were lacking. So we see a school picture, a subgroup level picture, and we go student level. We pull in and integrate with existing data systems around academics, attendance, behavior, and get a 360 picture for every child. How are we developing on academics, attendance, behavior, and social emotional skills? And most of our schools, it's the first time an educator can see a complete picture of a child's growth instead of logging in to 6 different places and seeing what does my student actually need. And then you can track interventions and actions. So for every topic in Panorama, we recommend what are other teachers and principals doing next about this. And you get personalized recommendations for student interventions and school strategies. And so we're today, we've raised $32 million over the past 5 years. Most recently, our Series B from Emerson Collective this past fall. And looking forward, we now serve 1 in 10 students across the US in 450 districts, 6 state departments, and now 23 of the top 100 school districts in the US have adopted Panorama for all of their schools and all of their kids. Thank you all. Happy to talk more. Really appreciate sharing about Panorama today. Thank you.